Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of times in the market, there are a lot of influences which makes a trader feel like a stock can head higher or lower. What traders should take due note of is that when you are able to combine several of these factors into one thesis, only then can trading mastery truly begin. I'm going to show you how we called the top of Apple, which ended up being the top of the entire market, how we rode Apple as well. I am Mark Melnick. This is the Newsbeat Show. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newsbeat Show. I understand it's been a very bloody week. I understand that there's been a lot of just a lot of issues, just a lot of issues with people in the market, long-term trades potentially heading lower. I see there's light coming down on top of me. It's almost like a trading halo coming from above. Um, but there is a way to really combine logical things into the market in order to take advantage of them. So this morning, I mean, we saw a lot of volatility in the market. We saw a lot of moves, and I was waiting to make a call. And the first call out that I did make in the room today was at 10:24 a.m. The options were very spread this morning, so it was very hard for an option trader and even a stock trader watching your P&L, I'm sure, whip up and down. Very, very volatile for somebody like that. But I will tell you this. It's actually a lot more predictable than you think, and I do want to prove that to you today and show you exactly what happened. So, at 10:24 a.m. today, we made a Newsbeat 100% idea. Newsbeat 100% idea is basically a stock trading idea in which we're looking for our calls to go up 100% in value. Catching 100% return seems crazy in a lot of cases. In a market like this, maybe it's a little less crazy, but we were doing them with deep out of the money Apple calls into next week. So at 10:24 a.m. today, we gave a Newsbeat 100% idea to buy the March 6 calls, the March 6 190 call, 290 calls next week, and we went ahead and I entered them in. My average was like $1.67 and a half. You could round it off to $1.68. And that was the trade that we took today. And again, not only are we talking about it in the room, I literally was talking about it a couple minutes before saying, hey guys, do you like Apple here? Do you like Apple into next week? We sort of work as a team to combine things together. So the first aspect of the confluence of technical analysis is getting the mood from the traders around me in the room. So automatically, most of the traders were like, yeah, I like the idea, I like the idea, I like the idea. And that was sort of my first green light to really want to go ahead and do it. And if you take a look at Apple over here, right here is between 10:20 and 10:25 a.m. We go ahead, we load in some calls, and you could just see right here, Newsbeat 100% idea. We actually tweeted out to you guys 10:24 a.m. We are talking about it in the room a couple minutes before. That's only when we execute upon a trade do we tweet it out. We're pretty much buying it over here, and Apple ended up just absolutely exploding. And the beautiful thing about actually calling Apple, one might say, well, everything must have really been shooting up if you called Apple like that. And the truth is, between 10:20 and 11 o'clock, the Qs didn't even break day highs. We sort of went sideways. But if you look at Apple between 10:20 and 11 o'clock, this thing exploded to day highs and then dragged the market up with it. So it was good identification of having a stock show early relative strength as well, especially in one of the bloodiest weeks that will go down in stock market history for sure. With that being said, Apple then exploded all the way up. I want to say I'm rounding off about 100. Like my calls went up 225% in value, so I was able to get my 100% return, so to speak. and Apple started shooting up here. And then Apple shot up to 378.41. And while Apple was going up here, I basically said, I'm going to be able to call the top of Apple. Very brave call as it's heading higher. After Apple hit 378.41 and immediately after, as it's still trading there, I say Apple topped out here. It hit 378.41. That was the first thing I said right after in real time, one of 1,000 plus whatever traders, that Apple hit 278.41, and that was going to be the top of the day. But it's easy to come to you right now and actually tell it to you if you're watching this video, and you might not understand how we actually went about and done that. So I am going to spoil you guys today by just showing you two simple things you could add. So the first thing, you probably already guessed it, is the exponential 100 moving average that we've been talking about ad nauseum since Sunday. We did a video on Sunday. I think I brought it up like almost every single day, how the 5-minute exponential 100 is such a great thing. And you could see it actually predicted two other tops in Apple. Look at that. Could you believe how amazing this line is? And I know you might be sitting there thinking, Mark Melnick is a magic bullet man and he has one strategy, and I know it. Now I can make money every day. The truth is, this strategy is not going to work as effectively now as it will in the future. It's a matter of when, not if. Another thing I did, speaking of confluence of analysis, is I added the standard pivot points here on TC2000, same as free stock charts. You just go ahead and you left click pivot points, and one of our methodologies was shorting on the pivot point. So right over here, the pivot point was at 277.34. You could round it up to 35 because it's a fraction of a penny. So whether you use 277.34 or 35 is irrelevant. And you see the exponential 100 here at 275.53. So what I was able to do is I thought, believe it or not, 275.53, I thought like about $1.80 range between the pivot point and 100 were actually close to each other. Now, maybe on a normal day, $1.80 isn't exactly close to each other, but on a day like today where support and resistance levels are just breaking and flying through, $1.80 might as well be like 5 cents apart like on any other day. So the prediction here, as Apple was going up through the 100, was all right, it went through the 100 moving average here, right over here at 275.53. And if it got to 277.34 and above, I would call the top of Apple. So I'm letting traders in the room already know that I'm going to call the top of Apple. Mark Melnick was even nice about it. What he did was he came out and he asked, because he knew traders were already buying Apple all the way down here, he even asked all the females in the room, their permission in order to call the top of Apple. Um, and of course, a lot of the guys say, yes, you have permission. And then I pretend they don't exist and just follow what the women say. But what I did was I literally, as it's going up, asking the people in the room, can I call the top of Apple? Are you cool with it? Literally preparing them mentally for what's going to come. So let me show you exactly what happened after Apple broke 275.53, and I want to reduce the time frame to a 1 minute just to show you how I did it. Okay, so here's Apple on the 1 minute. And what happened was it broke 275.53 right over here between 11:41 and 11:42 a.m. And I'm like, okay, guys, for the next 2 minutes, I'm saying I'm going to call the top of Apple. I called it 2 minutes before. I'm going to do it. Notice how the green bar goes up. Notice how it goes up again. It's 278.41. At that point, at that point of the day, there was absolutely no pullback between Apple going through the exponential 100 moving average. No real pullback that I would consider real. What do I mean by real? I mean, you're just putting in straight green bars. But because you're putting straight green bars again, and you elevated in volume on the 1 minute, look, this was the 1 minute that went through the pivot shares. It towered over the other volume bars on that point. So as you elevated in volume yet again, printed 278.41, using two things together simultaneously in real time, I'm able to say, okay, you broke the 100 moving average at 275.53. I'm getting ready to call the top of the market. You elevate in volume again to my next pivot point right here. Again, and as it hit 278.41 in real time, I said, Apple topped out right here. Ladies and gentlemen, Apple topped out. And I was even joking around. I said, don't hate the player, hate the chart. That's it. Hate the market. Don't hate the player, hate the market. After I said that, 5 minutes later, Apple dropped $8. The room went nuts. Another 5 minutes, dropped again. Now you might be saying, what's so important about a pivot point or an exponential 100 moving average? What's so important about that? Well, the answer is very simple. In this market, statistically speaking, those levels have been representing top outs and bottom outs for securities to the point where I could take the most valuable company in the United States, Apple, is it fighting with Microsoft still? You get the picture, and literally call the top. And at that moment, when I call the top of Apple, I need you to keep in mind the Q's topped out for the day, Spiders topped out for the day, Amazon did as well, um, Facebook, Netflix, Google, Cisco, Intel, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, they all topped out for the day. And 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 potentially other names that I didn't mention. So having the ability to put one and one together with a market moving stock in Apple gives the trader a distinct edge in which would not be available normally without doing the research and understanding what works in the current environment. We're having a very beautiful open house this week. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do for our newly joined members of our family here, we're going to help acclimate you, figure out what you do well in the market, and help you exploit these things so you could remain as consistent in the market as humanly possible. This was a very short Newsbeat show. I hope you guys enjoyed the Newsbeat live broadcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the Newsbeat show. Um, Half hilariously, I want to say there's an hour 27 minutes left for the open house. I'm not sure if the link in the description will still bring you here. I'm sure it will. There's also a free psychology ebook, and I just thought I would give you a lesson on how masterfully and easily it is using two consistent technical parameters using algo, algorithmic, algorithmically, logically, statistically viable strategies. No, I cannot say that 3 times fast. How you could just combine those two simple things together to literally call the top out of the entire market. I hope you guys enjoyed this Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money. And we'll see you guys here on the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.